What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to today's Dream Firm Leader interview. And what I'd like to do is I would like to introduce to you the man who drums up huge results for two niches, a veteran of engineering accounting solutions for veterinarians, the drill of truth, getting to the root of profitability for dental professionals, the man single-handedly bringing back the bow tie in style, Dream Firm leader of McGowan and Schwardren. Please welcome the one, the only, the magnificent Mark McGowan. Mark, it's an absolute pleasure. Welcome and thank you. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Tyler. I've never had an intro like that. I've had some close, but not like that.
Well, if you ever go on the road to be able to bring your expertise and you need a hype man, I'm more than happy to go on the road with you. I'll get the crowd fired up. We'll be a great 1-2 punch. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
Cool. And I just want to say I came prepared for a fashion off, but Maureen told me that I already lost. She said, you can't compete with the bow tie. You tried with the grandma's couch routine. It failed. I lost. So Mark, you win the fashion off. Congratulations.
Well, the bow tie almost didn't work because during COVID, I think I've gained a few pounds in my neck. So it is rather tight. But if I don't wear it, I think I told you at conventions, people ask me what's wrong if I'm not wearing a bow tie.
Well, that means that you've got an identity that people associate you with. And so why don't we start to dive a little bit further into your history, Mark, how you got started. So just give us that high level overview of what attracted you to accounting and a little bit about your career thus far.
I was attracted to accounting by default. I was in computer engineering and mathematics major at Worcester Polytech, known as WPI. And after a year, I decided it wasn't for me. My roommate said, oh, you ought to join in on one of these boring classes that I have to audit. It's called Accounting 101. I went in and I said, this isn't boring. Transferred schools, graduated, worked in private industry for 3 years, joined public when I realized I really should get my CPA, and worked in healthcare after that. Had a circuitous route. I quit my accounting job, became a paramedic for a major metropolitan city for 5 years, hurt my back, went back to plan B, which was being a CPA, and started my own practice and never looked back.
I'm curious, just very quickly here, Mark, you mentioned an injury to your back, and I'm curious to know if that had any sort of role in deciding to open up your own shop. Was that something that kind of tipped the scales a little bit? What really made you say, I'm going to go down the route of entrepreneurship?
Oh, I talked about this in a podcast that I did with my co-host. We talked about risk taking, and every entrepreneur is a risk taker because you never know what's going to work out. I was working for a large CPA firm. My father-in-law told me in his infinite wisdom that you won't get anywhere in life if you don't own something or sell something. So you need to have your own practice. I am going to funnel you a ton of clients from all my friends, associates, business partners. You'll never have to worry about getting another client as long as you live. A month later, after I quit my job, he came to me and said, you know what? I don't think I want to refer clients to you because potentially what would happen if one of my business partners said, Mark isn't doing a great job and I don't think he's the best CPA for my firm. It would make me look bad. So I'm not going to refer any business to you on it. So I said, wait a second. I quit my job. I lost my health insurance. I have no retirement plan. I have basically no clients. What do I do? So I basically had to put plan C in effect, which was start getting clients. And I had to reinvent myself as a marketer, which I wasn't a good marketer. I finally had to learn how to speak where I got nauseous in front of crowds. I really only knew how to deal with high net worth individuals. There weren't a lot of high net worth individuals looking to hire a firm of one. It just wasn't a great opportunity, I thought. So I had to reinvent myself, and I said, what do I like working with? And I had friends that were veterinarians that were asking me questions all the time. And one said, hey, can you find out some more information? I joined like-minded collegial group of CPAs, attorneys, practice management consultants that worked with veterinarians, and the rest is history. Just by somebody else, I mean, most people would have crumbled. I almost did. You have a mortgage to pay, kids to feed. It puts the fire in your stomach pretty quick. So I look back and I say, I wish that didn't happen, but it might have been the best thing for me, although I'll never admit it to him.
Well, that's a fantastic story, and there's so many awesome lessons to pull from that. One, adversity is how we're going to be facing adversity and understanding the importance of taking risks. It's omnipresent in entrepreneurship. If you're uncomfortable with taking risks, it's going to be really hard for you to ever get the associated return of investments that come along with risks, right? You have to go down. You have to be willing to sacrifice a little bit in order to go further faster. And of course, it's sad that you had that opportunity and then they're like, you know what? We made a promise to you. And I know this happens from clients to strategic referral partners. We made a promise to you, but we're going to go back on it. And then all of a sudden we go, wait a minute. What do you mean? Like in the service profession, your promise is literally like you are your word in the service profession. So for one reason or another, you found yourself going through the school of hard knocks for marketing. And you brought up an interesting realization very quickly, Mark, that a lot of people will go years and years and decades and not have the same realization that you have, which is the importance of a specialty early on. Said you had a lot of friends who are vets. Why did you have a lot of friends who are veterinarians? That's it's an interesting group of friends to foster. How did that come to be?
One of the first people I met when I moved to a small little farming community was a veterinarian who was on the fire department when I was a paramedic, and we were just talking and hit it off. And he referred me to other people that he knew that were also veterinarians. So sometimes it just hits you in the face on what your niche should be. You just don't realize it.
And it's funny you say that because I have a client in the 8-week program right now. His name is not Mark. It's a different guy. And this guy had struggles with niche selection. And that's primarily one of the things that a lot of people do struggle with, and we help them with at a high level. And so he was going through the program. He kind of hit a little bit of a stumbling block, coaching him through it. And then he reviewed with me his opportunities over the last week. Okay. These were things that just materialized pretty quickly. And he's a man who has some pretty significant faith. He's a believer. And I said, okay, call me crazy, but is something trying to tell you something right now? Do you like the type of clients you're getting? Yeah, I love them. They're exactly what I'm thinking about, what I like. I'm like, and they all seem to fall under this umbrella category, don't they? And they go, you're right. And it's sometimes it's right in front of us, but we need just a little bit of perspective to be able to really see it. And I'm glad Mark was able to do that. But I want to change gears here because, Mark, a lot of people, they worry about pigeonholing themselves. They worry about cutting out too much of the pie and think that that's going to be a disadvantage. For people who have that mindset, or might be working through that particular problem, what would you say to them in terms of the advantages of let's just talk veterinarians. I know there's a second niche we're going to talk about in a minute, but what being able to speak directly to veterinarians was able to do for you in terms of efficiency and going through the school of hard knocks of marketing?
Once you get in a group of people that, say the veterinary space, I was introduced to practice management consultants who had their own client base that now I could be connected to. I learned all the lenders that were in the veterinary space, not somebody that would loan to a barbershop, a manufacturing company, but somebody who was specific to the veterinary market. They would refer clients to me. Attorneys, I networked with an attorney in California. And he said, oh boy, you must be getting a lot of business from, being in this Vet Partners group. And I said, actually, I haven't received anybody this year. And this was my first year of membership. He said, I'm going to change that. He referred a client that he met at a convention that was 10 miles from my house. This is somebody in California. So it's such a small world. Once you get in a niche, you find out how much smaller it is. I mean, I talked to a client a potential client in Alaska a few years back that came on board, and he said, "I heard you were the guy." I'm like, "Really? Who said that?" So that's what you can become. You can become the person that, I mean, there's a lot. There's, I know 10 CPAs in our group that I talk to on a monthly basis because we have monthly meetings, but I know them. It's a very small community, and sometimes we steal clients from each other. but it's nice to be part of that small group.
Yeah, it's fun, healthy competition. And look, I like to say, how many clients do most of us realistically need to really live the life we want? A couple hundred max? At what point in time do we start to realize that maybe I don't need that world beater, that regional firm, and I'm happy with what I have? And this to me is the power of efficiency. And I want to pull just a little bit out of what Mark shared there and emphasize it, that when you have specificity, when you're more relevant, when you're in these associations, when you know the strategic referral partners and they know you, it makes everything easier. You become more recognizable. I think the most frustrating thing for most, really any professional, but definitely accounting professionals, is you have an unbelievable amount of expertise that's desperately needed, but people don't recognize it. But it's much easier to become recognizable when you're speaking directly to a target market or an audience, and you're marshaling your assets and resources to being able to be seen, right? Like when someone can literally come up to you and say, "You're the guy," right? Like that's such a weird experience for people to imagine who haven't gone through it yet. But that's the power of recognition in a space, and then being in that space so that you can get recognized. Like it literally feeds back into itself over and over again. So I had a great question come in from John. And John, I just want to let you know, and everyone, that I see your questions coming in. And so just know that we're going to get to them at the end of today's presentation. So we're going to have at least 15 minutes at the end for Q&A. I just want to make sure Mark can answer all of the questions that we pre-scheduled ahead of time. So Mark, let's talk a little bit about the fact that you have a second niche. And this, to me, is the other thing a lot of people struggle with. It's like, am I going too narrow? Can I have two? How long were you inside of the veterinarian space before you migrated to also the dental space, or was it simultaneous? What was how did that evolve?
It was 10 years of working with veterinarians. And then when I merged with my partner, who I eventually bought out, he was 100% dental specific, with a smattering of, funeral homes, barber shops, manufacturing companies, but he was primarily a dental CPA. So by default, I had to also acquire that knowledge, and then I was 50% vet, 50% dental. And I had worked with a dentist back in 1988 in my first year in public accounting, and swore I'd never work with another dentist. I just had such a bad experience. And then come full circle, I buy a firm that's, 100% dentists.
And it's funny you say that, Mark, because there are certain niches that tend to come up very frequently. I think dentist is the one I hear the most. Real estate, arguably second, and lawyers probably duel for the top three spots, right? But what's interesting about real estate and legal professionals is that, dental and real estate, is that, dental and legal. Wow, I can only mess that up so many times. Dental and legal is when there is an audience and that has an extremely high amount of education. I tend to find that they can be a little tougher to work with at times. Obviously, this isn't a hard and fast rule. This is why going deeper into dream client identification beyond just industry and being able to recognize like what made up the characteristics of the dentist that Mark first interacted with, where he was like, no, versus the other batch of dentists where he's like, this is great. I like it so much that I'm willing to co-specialize or spread my ability to be a specialist into two separate areas. There are differences in those types of people. And when we go a little bit further beyond that, that to me is when you get the real dream clients, not just niche, actual dream clients. So Mark, just to go one layer deeper on that, what would you say is the major difference between that first dentist that you had a chance to work with versus the ones that you find yourself enjoying and consciously choosing to, again, market directly to?
The first dentist, we were introducing a pension plan. I think it was a money purchase plan way back then. And he was all set to sign the documents to do it with the actuary. And then he found out he had to contribute to his employees. And he said, I'm not contributing $1 to them.
Oh,
Forget it. And I said, oh my God, he's going to do that to his employees? But then I realized how short-sighted he was, because now he wasn't going to have a contribution. I said, wow, this guy isn't smart and I don't want to work with them.
okay. So there is again, like a psychographic side of this, which is there is a team here. There's a team that needs to be supported, and I need to have the leadership principles associated with that are clearly identifiable on the front end. So Mark, I think a lot of people can hear a story like that. And I have, of course, similar ones for accounting professionals that are very, very similar, where it's like, okay, we clearly don't align, but sometimes we're too far into it and then we're stuck with potentially a bad client, or they're taking up all this time, energy, and resources, and it's a source of frustration. So is there something you might be willing to share in terms of a way that you can better gauge on the front end whether you should be willing to accept a client that may not align with your personal values?
Usually I can tell in my first conversation. I had a short-lived client that I knew I should never have taken them on, because I helped him acquire this dental practice. And early on in the conversation, he's like, wow, this thing's going to be really profitable. These employees are so underpaid and they don't even know it. And if that's your goal, what about your CPA who, wow, I'm paying him so little and he doesn't even know it. So what comes around goes around, and I didn't want to be a part of it. So yeah, you can tell. When I look back on failed relationships, I knew there was something that I just wasn't picking up on. Usually when I was younger and dating, I never picked up on those relationship signals. But now, fast forward X number of years, I can kind of get the client signal where I'm like, oh, geez, something's just not sounding good.
And again, hindsight's 2020, but it's important that we review and analyze those decisions, why we made them, even though our gut most likely, and I like to say gut's never wrong, always listen to the gut, even though the gut was saying, yeah, and we still went forward with it. And I want to start to shift a little bit of the conversation, Mark, to where you are now, because oftentimes people find themselves saying yes to things that their gut is like, no, like you gotta get away from this, because they're like, I don't know when my next opportunity is going to come around. And so let's talk a little bit about your life prior to working with Dream Firms, Mark. What was it that you really came to us looking to solve? What were you experiencing at that time?
A whole bunch of system problems. We didn't have a good onboarding process. We're still working towards a good sales process. Same with our marketing. My wife doesn't like you. And do you want me to tell you why? Because
I'm kind of afraid, but yeah, no, I want to hear it.
Well, you'll meet her someday. But every time I come, now that at my office, we're 100% virtual and the office is in the house, I go downstairs to share ideas and ask for her advice. And she's like, oh, so Tyler told you not to do that. And I've been telling you for a year. So why is it so special that Tyler's telling you to do it? And I said, because he's giving me context and constructive conversations to have to lead to a better result. You just said, don't do that. Don't go there. And I need more than that. I need more substance. So you always have a good story of why you shouldn't do something, and here's how you should frame it differently.
Well, I'm looking forward to meeting your wife as well. I was almost afraid like she's going to meet me in like a dark alley and that's going to end poorly for me. No, it sounds like we're on the same page, and it's about getting Mark onto the same page and just being able to communicate how that we can get you to move forward as efficiently and as effectively as possible. I might need to hire her as a coach now that you say it, Mark. But look, that's awesome. And that's such an important point that I think sometimes gets lost in our own messaging. And this is a reflection of myself, is that, yes, we talk about dream client acquisition. Yes, I believe that when you solve the front end, it really solves a lot of problems on the back end in terms of fulfillment. But for many people like Mark, when they come to us, they might believe that they want more opportunity. But then when we really actually sit down and analyze and look at the situation, I go, if we give any more on your plate, Mark, this is going to be a bad situation. We have to change the way the firm is operating from a fulfillment perspective first, the systems, again, onboarding, how we're removing you from the minutia, how we're leveraging, we're going to talk about this in a second, how we're leveraging a partner who's a little bit on the kind of more starting to pull back, but a natural part of every business, how we can leverage their expertise to just build some processes that don't require you 100% of the time. So let's talk a little bit about some of the additional specific struggles and hurdles that you were experiencing at that time, Mark. What's something that comes to mind that was just a big point of frustration that you knew could be better, but maybe hadn't found a way to solve it quite yet?
Well, even our marketing to our target market. I mean, once we had the new website built, I think I discussed with you that our website developer wanted to charge an astronomical fee to build 2 landing pages with potentially limited results, but we wanted to get something out there to warm up our market. And Tyler told me, basically just do an end run around that and do something simple just to warm people up and let them know that, there's a waiting list, and after tax season, we'd be happy to do something for you. And here's the structure of a new deal that we're going to give specifically to you. And I think that's a better way to frame things than putting a whole bunch of time and effort and money into marketing programs that might not produce results.
It's such a great example, Mark, because a lot of people, they see the shiny object, right? Landing page, funnel, even like an email automation sequence, a free download. Like there's all of these things that, again, can have a lot of value when implemented successfully, part of a larger strategy. But in this case, building landing pages that where you have no intention of driving traffic to, because we need to, again, prioritize our fulfillment systems first, free up our time so we can justify bringing on the type of clients we want. Why would we invest that money right now? It just doesn't necessarily, the order of it isn't aligned. But what we want to do is we want to stock the pipeline, right? We want people to be ready to buy. And there are so many easy ways to do that. And I'll share, again, we have nothing to hide, guys. The technique or strategy I share with Mark is, look, you've got your list of people. He's got all these veterinarians, all these dentists inside of these lists. And I said, look, email's a tool for communication. Just ask them to reply back to you that they want to be put on the wait list. It's simple, it's fast, it's easy. Shoot it out, make the offer, and make it easy to respond. Don't worry about building a complex landing page and booking a call after April. Forget it. Reply back. You've got them. They're at the top of the wait list when things get done. It's simple and easy to do. So great example, Mark, much appreciated. And you mentioned marketing programs. Had you invested in any other programs prior to working with Dream Firms?
We did the Wickersham, and I think it's a great tool, but it's just a tool. And I know about giving options, but we need more of the backstory and operations and systems. I mean, anybody can get a tool, but now you have to use the tool. And is it the right tool? And is it the right message that you're using the tool for? And are you going to get the right clients? So I kind of felt lost. And the whole thing about, Tyler, I can tell you this, that I need a sounding board. I asked my partner, he's like, yeah, whatever you think. You're the tech guy, you know this, the vets, the dentist now. I'm on my way out. And colleagues that I have known for 25, 30 years that I answer shop with and maintain close contact with, they're not in the same markets. They, some do 1040s. I have one that does liquor distributors. That's his thing. And ministers, where, that's how he evolved over the years, and they come to him in droves. So I can't ask him a question about, a lending environment for dentists and new real estate. It's just, he doesn't know.
Exactly. And there's different expertise deployable in different situations. But I agree with Mark that a lot of, and this is something I find interesting about, like when I look at the AI CPA website, for instance, I see fantastic tools. It's like tool overload. It's like, here's bill.com and here's T-sheets and here's, and it's like, all these tools. And again, tools are fantastic. I'm not, trust me, I'm a huge fan of having the right tool for the right job, but oftentimes that tool almost feels like it's kind of out here on an island. And the question is how are we actually looping this in to our organization so that the time we invested into understanding that tool or that particular technique, it serves our business. It has a specific purpose and it gets deployed. And again, just to echo what Mark said here is like, that's really what I like to focus on is, yeah, we can take in all this information, but at the end of the day, why does any of it really matter? Is it serving the larger purpose that we need to be focusing on right now? Because if it doesn't, just like having a $6,000 two landing pages, like let's put that off to the side right now. We could maybe revisit, probably not, but let's focus on something that is in terms of the priority today, and let's solve that. But great response, Mark. Thank you for that.
And everybody likes going to conventions and shopping. I mean, if I go to when Accountex was a thing, going into Accountex and that's an awesome tool. Can I get some information? And like, oh, I'm going to do something with it. And then it never just really fits into your system. Sounds great at the time.
Yeah. And I'll give a perfect example for myself. And I think a lot of other people have fallen into this as well. When I was in solopreneur mode, when it was just me and Marine, we found Trello, right? And we were like, oh man, Trello, right? Like it's like Kanbans or whatever that's called. Like it's basically a glorified project management, free to use tool, very easy. Okay. If you're unfamiliar with it, it's simple. But we got excited about it. We learned about it, dropped it by the wayside. We spent 2 weeks, got it all organized, totally stopped using it. And we were like, wow, man, it felt like we wasted all this time, energy, effort, and it didn't really do anything. Because Trello, in my opinion, is something you use to manage your team members. Now, that's for me. It might be different for someone else, but we didn't have a team to manage. And it was like we were trying to manage our own schedules and our own responsibilities. And it felt like I was just putting things in there that I knew I already had to do anyway, and it was a waste of time. And so again, like right tool for the right job in the right situation. And it's okay if you recognize that it's not the time for it. You made the investment. When it does become time later and you do have a team, you can leverage that expertise that you already built into the tool, but don't feel like you have to force yourself to keep using something just because you made a little bit of an investment on the front end for it. Okay, so I want to talk about getting started with us, Mark, and really why you decided to join us in the first place. So let's go with why, and then we'll move into what was the process like getting started?
The process was generated just because I didn't have a person to ask. And I knew there was going to be a group of people that hopefully had the similar practice and life circumstances as me. I mean, when I look on there, I see people that are younger than me, which is awesome. But I also see some people that are my age and older, and I know they have the same concerns. So, and it's always systems and people.
The problems we run into are not unique. The question is, how efficiently do we want to solve them? Because someone else has either solved them or knows the answer to help you solve your problem very quickly. And there's nothing magical to that. It's just, are you willing to embrace the method that gets you the answers quicker? And if you are, that's what we do. It's what we do with Mark. It's what we do with all of our top clients. How has it changed your life, Mark?
Let's see. It's kind of painful at first because I have to change things that have worked okay, and I don't really like change for the sake of change. But if it's going to make my life better, I'll do it. And once again, my wife said, "You need to do something," and kind of that's why I looked for a solution, and that was Dream Firm. So
happy wife, happy life. That's never said quite enough, but yeah. And change is the only constant. And I know that I don't like to make change for the sake of making change, but when we recognize that something is not what it needs to be, what are we going to do about it? What is the risk we're going to take to make ourselves a little uncomfortable? Going back to the beginning of entrepreneurship and our conversation with Mark, what is that risk we're willing to take to just move ourselves out of a comfort zone and try something new? If we're unhappy with the way things are working, we can either continue to be unhappy with them or we can do something about it. And Mark obviously is making those decisions every day, which is fantastic. What do you enjoy most about working with us?
I can ask questions one-on-one. I don't use Voxer as much as I should. I am not a phone person. It's over there and it's shut off just so I don't have to get interrupted. But the best thing is, I'm talking a lot now, but usually I listen. So if we're on a group call, like Ine, I love listening to her. I like listening to Blaine. I think they have great insight. And today at 3:30, I have a tax dome meeting where my team is going over, those four of us going over the 1040 process for tax season, which we didn't use in Tax Dome last year. But with things growing the way they are, and we're trying to get more efficient and get things done quicker and me not work weekends, which is the goal. I'll probably work Saturdays, but not Sundays. But if we don't have that structure in Tax Dome that everybody agrees on, things are just going to fall apart. And we don't need the willy-nilly method. We have our entity process and accounting process and bookkeeping process pretty much down, but I think we need to use Tax Dome more. And it's that tool that we've, elected to start using more and forcing clients to use. And I think this year hopefully will be a good barometer of what next year will look like, because we're trying to use as much functionality as we can, because we haven't used anything in previous years. We use Tax Dome as really a client communication and document management portal, but it's really much more than that. Or any practice management software is supposed to be more than that. We just didn't have good success.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic point, Mark, that sometimes we go searching for other tools or other solutions when literally we've already made the investment in the right tool. We just haven't explored the full set of features or gotten them implemented. And that again is another branch of like shiny object, where we're looking at something, there's all these other things, all these emails, all these banner ads, all these free webinars to attend. And I just say, do you already have what you need? Oftentimes the answer is yes. It's just we haven't dedicated the resources to being able to maximize the investment so far. So before we go and make another one, let's finish strong on the investments we've already started. And in this particular case, right, like Tax Dome can do a lot. But one of the things I always tell all my clients, Mark knows this, Ine, all of them, I say, put some responsibility on that software company. Make them want your business. Go to them and ask for the help, because the problem is you go in there, get excited. Ooh, document signing. Ooh, workflow process management. Ooh, the portal. Ooh, all these different things, and it's sort of like you bounce around and you don't have to actually get something accomplished. But if you go in there with a specific intent, with a specific expert, again, part of your already made investment, just maximizing it more, how much faster do you go? How much further do you go? Do you accomplish the process that you know you need to be built in, because you're not guessing, you're dictating, right? You're literally directing the efforts, and now you're getting the result that you want from it, as opposed to just like, well, I'm going to try and figure this out today. And then your phone rings. Well, I know you're not a phone guy, Mark, so that's not your problem, but like something happens and then you get pulled out of it, and then you have to reboot your brain and all that jazz.
We met Ilya at Accountex when I was on one of my shopping adventures, going around the show floor. But I actually just didn't grab a brochure. I said, "Ooh, I'm going to pick this guy's brain because I'm sick of getting software programs that don't work." So I called my accounting manager, and she met me over there, and we just pummeled him with questions. It's surprising he still wanted to talk to us, but then we knew one of the owners of the company, so I would email him directly. I'm like, "Does it do this? Does it do this? Does it do this?" And they're like one of the few companies. I wish Lacert, our tax software, was as responsive. But if we email a planned, a request to TaxDome for a feature request, it's right on the list, and then people start voting on it, which, I mean, nobody does that. I mean, they have a veterinary software that you can vote as much as you want, and then they don't listen to it.
That's the best. It's just like, why is this even here? You're not even going to listen to us in the first place. But no, I love that, because there are a lot of legacy software companies out there right now. And those legacy software companies are comfortable. The one that tends to come to mind the most when I kind of use this analogy is Thomson Reuters. And they are considered by many, or were considered by many, to be the Rolls Royce of the accounting industry. But the problem now is that, one, innovation, cloud, and all sorts of things, and hungrier competitors like a TaxDome that are able to listen to what the market wants, adapt faster, and give it to you quicker. And that to me is such an important thing, is like, my loyalty for software is zero, right? Like, it is, that doesn't mean I want to change and bounce around, but if you start recognizing that there are problems and they're not being addressed in any way, you got to keep your eyes open. And when you make the decision to switch, rip that system, that tool right out the wall, and just go straight with the one that you know is going to continue to improve, continue to get better, and solve the problems you're currently facing. Don't continue to put up with it, because you don't have to. And Ilya is a great guy. He can answer any question you got. So love TaxDome. We recommend them like crazy. We also have a cool offer. If you guys want to sign up under an affiliate link, we can drop that maybe in the comment section. I think Bareen might be handling a little bit of that on the back end. So here's the big question, Mark, that I know a lot of people are curious about. How much have you added to your firm? If you're willing to share, no pressure. How much have you added to your firm? And in what time frame since joining Dream Firms?
Is it 11 weeks, I think, since joining Dream Firms?
Sounds about right.
165,000 of new clients.
I mean, I have to keep telling people these are not paid promotions. Like Mark did not, like Mark is here. Mark paid me.
Where's my check?
Well, your check is in the form of six figures. And that's excellent. And again, the key to remember here is that Mark is not necessarily intentionally looking to pick up new clients right now, because he needs to service what he's brought in, which is why we've had the conversation about wait lists and how to prime people to buy post-tax season a little bit earlier. But again, that's fantastic growth, Mark. Congratulations. That doesn't quite make you a Dream Firm Award winner yet, unless you collected 100,000. But if you've got it billed and it's slated, you're going to win that award most likely within the next.
It's on signed retainers, so they pay monthly.
You'll get there probably in the next 6-7 months here, easy. So again, congratulations on the growth. That is absolutely fantastic. And what would you say to someone considering our services right now?
Be committed. So yes, I'm I've bit off more than I can chew, but it's a slow process. I mean, when I looked at people saying that they were like 85% done and within 5 weeks, they were just ripping through it. I'm like, wow, what are these people doing? Are they sleeping? There's a lot of information to absorb, but I think you have to absorb it. And I'm still working my way through it. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in there, and there's a lot of things that you have to do that are uncomfortable. That I'm not a good writer. I'm a good writer. I can write wedding speeches like there's no tomorrow. But for a primary headline and marketing materials, it's hard. So it just forces you to be uncomfortable. So like I told Tyler, I drum in a rock band. I started taking lessons 2 years ago, and I started singing, which is even harder when you're a drummer. Plus, when you're waiting till you're mid-50s to do it. It's uncomfortable, but when I look back, I'm like, well, that's not that bad. I've always wanted to do this. It's just a hurdle. So I would say plow through it as fast as you can, because it's going to get you much better results than the status quo.
Fantastic answer. And I'll summarize that as commitment, as the first word that essentially Mark said there. If you're committed to ultimately making things happen, want to embrace change, want to beat the status quo, that to me is what you really need to be willing to embrace in order to maximize the experience. And obviously, I only want people like Mark who are going to maximize the investments that they make with us. Really appreciate that. I've got just 2 quick questions here. We're just going to kind of rapid fire because I want to get to Q&A because we're at the 45-minute mark. Why do you consider this one of the best investments you've made in your business?
I think besides technology, I think tech is so impersonal. I think you need a personal connection to guide you and smack you when you need it and be your sounding board, because you can't live as an island. I mean, there's between, in-house and outsourced employees, we have 11 or 12 people. I mean, I still consider myself an island sometimes, and it's hard. So you need that personal connection, because it's kind of like COVID. It's not the one person you meet, it's the 100 people that they met before and that they met and that they met. You need somebody that's going to assimilate all those great ideas and boil them down and give them to you, which, in our hectic, busy lives, we need someone to do that for us. Well said.
Excellent response, Mark. I appreciate that. And what has surprised you the most when it came to growing your practice? And then we're getting a live Q&A, so drop your questions right now, guys. But what has surprised you the most, Mark?
That it couldn't be this hard. It always seemed organic growth was hard before, but I think when you have a better attitude about charging what you're worth, and telling people, I remember I would cry if I wanted to ask a client to get what I was worth. And at a trade show, I kind of did a test. I said, the next person that tries to, negotiate with me, I'm gonna get right back on them. So a dentist dentists are they're
notorious.
Frugal. They're frugal.
Yes.
Said, I want to pay half that. I said, well, when you're more successful, you come back and talk to me. And I was like shaking that I was asking him to do that. And he's like, oh. And basically it was like, how dare you tell me that? But he didn't say anything. He never became a client, thank goodness, because he wouldn't value what we were doing. So there's somebody out there that's going to value what you provide at the price you ask. But if you don't ask, you're not going to get. And that's what I've found. It's taken me 20 years almost of being in practice myself to realize that you're worth a lot more than you think. And accountants and CPAs, I know, want to give all the advice they can. And if they make money off it, it's kind of like the old veterinarian that they would get paid in chickens and bacon. we can't live on chickens and bacon. So get the fair price that you deserve, because you do deserve it. You have such a narrow window of opportunity. And if you're getting half or 3/4 of what you deserve, you can't go get it back. It's gone. So really, you should start getting it now. That's why we tell all our veterinary clients, you know, because of your perception that people won't pay your exam fee if you go up another $2, an appointment. Most people don't care. If they like you and they trust you and they value your advice, what's $2? But if you get that from 6,000 appointments, that's $12,000 that you would not have gotten if you didn't raise your price.
Perfectly stated, Mark, and thank you for sharing that. And I do think I could live off of bacon and chicken, just to make sure everyone's aware of that. I accept that challenge. Fantastic response. I want to jump into Q&A now, just because we're up to the last 10 minutes here, and I know we've got a lot of questions coming in here. I've got a question from John. John says, tell us the primary differences in the two niches, personality, character choices. So John, I'm just going to pick this one up for Mark. Dentistry as one niche, veterinarian as the other. And also I'll just say, I don't like to use the platitude of recognizes value, but I will say that recognizes expertise, establish expertise. And Mark has done a lot of things to be able to establish expertise because he focuses on these two areas. And as long as that expertise is recognized, the corresponding value, synonym for results, the corresponding results are much easier for those clients to see. So great question from John. John says, did you land the Alaska guy? Did you reference Alaska?
I did. So he built into his contract that I had to fly up there every year and consult with them for 4 days. So I went up there and I filmed a commercial at the Alaska Zoo that he was the veterinarian at. And it was a good marketing tool. And, I got other clients because of it. Because I said, I'm willing to fly to Alaska to help you. And he eventually ended up selling.
Please send me that video. I have to see it. Like, now that I know it exists, Mark, I cannot rest until I see it. That is awesome. So, and man, I wish a client would write that into an agreement with me. I'd be like, deal, give me a reason to go to Alaska for a couple of weeks each year. That's awesome.
I also had to drive to Nebraska a few months ago during COVID, which they didn't recognize in Nebraska. So.
Yeah, that's not too surprising. Laura says, I love your wife, Mark. Sounds like my house, LOL. Alan says, well, this was time well invested. Thank you for sharing, Mark. Thanks for hanging out with us, Alan. Mark, different Mark. How did you get your first real opportunity to be highlighted as an expert in your niche? What did you do to get that opportunity? That's a really interesting question.
So I joined a group called Vet Partners,
okay,
which is a group of anybody related to the veterinary industry, lenders, lawyers, CPAs, practice management consultants, equipment vendors, pet food companies, pet insurance companies. And really it's just a clearinghouse for I would say the best and brightest. I get to hear what's going on in the industry from people that are fully entrenched in it. There's a lot of
Maybe think about your first, like a speaking, because you mentioned speaking earlier, and right. I love that you joined a professional networking group specific for your niche, like super smart. But when did it really materialize into speaking, perhaps?
It took 3 years. And one of the people I had met, I'd sat with at a convention. He's like, wow, you're just the type of person that we'd like to speak at the North American Veterinary Conference. I said, oh, that's great. I'd be happy to do that. So I had to create the slides and I did 4 presentations. But I walk into the first presentation of this ballroom down in Orlando, and there's 1,000 people sitting in the audience. And I had never spoken before in front of that many people. And I almost lost it. I went out, I grabbed a banana because my stomach was gurgling and I ran back in. But after that, once you get on that circuit, as long as you know the people that are putting together the schedules for these practice management consortiums at these conventions, as long as you're on the inside track, it's great. But you kind of got to maintain your network to keep reliable and present. Otherwise, if you say, hey, I spoke at 3 conventions, you may fall off the face of the earth for 4 years. So I'm speaking in Vegas at another one for 4 speeches with my podcast co-host in September. So hopefully that doesn't get moved again.
Super cool. Congratulations. And just to summarize, be present in your niche, be there, and things will happen. And if you can increase the frequency in which they see you, recognize you, expand your network, literally what we teach you in the program, that's going to happen much faster than 2 to 3 years. But that's awesome, Mark. Thank you for sharing. What a great story. Angie says, are you a CPA? Do you think that helps with your credibility debating taking the test?
Oh, as my father-in-law said before, if you don't have your CPA, then you're not worth anything. So of course, I then, after 4 years out of school, I took the exam a couple times, finally passed it, and the rest is history. But I'm also a certified financial planner. I used to actually determine, I was one of the 7 people that determined what was on the CFP exam.
Wow.
So one of those volunteer things that you get roped into, but that's how you really network with people. Once you volunteer if you're in construction, you volunteer for the membership committee of a construction association. I mean, that kind of gets you cemented that you're willing to take the next step. I wrote 3 textbooks, 17 chapters in 3 textbooks for veterinary practice financial management. A thankless job, but it's part of my CV that I can put out there that I'm an author of textbooks.
And again, a lot of people pen or author various things and don't even include that in their descriptions or about us. And I might even call you out on that right now, Mark, because I'm familiar with your website, and this is all new to me, man. And this is pretty good brand building stuff, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I was told I shouldn't put that in there because I need to be new and fresh, but I'm gonna, yeah.
Yeah, nothing quite says new and fresh like ignoring the fact that you have established expertise. Brilliant advice.
I know.
Sylvia says, might have missed this, but do you think it helps or hurts having more than one niche? Did you start with 2? Sylvia, just very quickly, he started with Veterinarians. 10 years later, acquired a firm that had dental expertise, and that's why he now splits between the 2. I would say that you shouldn't start with 2. Most people, you nail 1, you go, why would I add 2? But if there's an opportunity that presents itself or something very similar, it may be worth making that transition. Joanne.
Dentists and vets are so closely related. In our literature, you could just substitute vet for dentist. One has more insurance penetration. The other is vets have 3% pet insurance. So other than that, it's pretty much the same. Use the same distributors, et cetera.
And again, industry knowledge right there that, again, immediately builds in credibility because you spent so much time in the space. Like you can't fake that. It's incredibly authentic. I've got a question from Billy. Billy said, when did you start working with Tyler? Billy, that was 11 weeks ago. So this is, you know, in the span of time, or in the great eye of time, like this is but a blip. And we've been able to accomplish, in my opinion, quite a bit. So we'll have to work with you too, Billy, potentially. Dwayne just added Taxome on Monday to my practice. Congratulations, Dwayne. Hope you really enjoy that investment with them. They are a really stand-up group of individuals and an excellent tool. Tracy says, Tyler, you need to do a master class on energy. LOL. Seriously though, how much coffee did you have today? Just 1 cup, and it was literally like 5 hours ago. So Tracy, this is just my natural state. You want some positive energy? Come into the program, create your dream firm program. I've got a question from Donald. Donald says, when we join your program, Tyler, how much access do we get to you? Was burned on another program that made a big promise. Mark, would you maybe just like to say, how much access do you have to me?
If you use Voxer, you can Vox all the time.
Unlimited.
Put stuff on Facebook, on the Facebook group. Like I said, I don't use Voxer as much as I should, and I think I was delayed on some of my hot seats, but that's on me. It's not on Tyler. Tyler wants to communicate because then you'll get more success and you can rave about dream firms. So it's a no-brainer. If I don't use it, that's on me.
And look, again, I like to say, give me a little, you're going to get a lot back, Donald. You will not be lacking of support directly from me. I remember Mark said, hey, I got this vet article. Could you mind taking a look at it? And Mark, I basically rewrote the whole thing from front to back. I was like, this is unacceptable. This has to be better.
It was for the biggest drug and equipment distributor in the veterinary world. And I didn't want it to look like it was very hokey. And I said, Tyler, this is what they wrote. Could you help? He's like, oh my God, give me a day. You can't go out looking like that. You have to have something better.
Gotta shine, right? Just give me a little sparkle. So David says, how can I get started? Link down below, David. Just go to dreamfirms.com/now, or just look at the link that Maureen should be dropping in the chat. Would love to make sure that you qualify for the program. Norma says, okay, I've heard enough. I'm ready. This is what I need. Way to go, Norma. Can't wait for you to be in the program. Kathleen, book my call. Let's make 2021 the best year ever. Kathleen, way to be proactive. Can't wait to learn more about you as well. And then I've got one more from Andrew. Thanks for sharing, Mark. Super inspirational. Please give us a link to hear your band. You got a link, Mark, for the band?
I could send a link. But Facebook, we can't have it up there because of some copyright infringements. But
we'll create a little.
I'll put something on the side,
on the dark web, so we can listen to Mark's band
in
total peace. And then one last one for Katrina from she says, struggling with paralysis by analysis, by needing things to be perfect. How can you help me? Katrina, just very quickly, perfect doesn't exist. It simply doesn't. The only way that you're ever going to get better and closer to perfect is by taking action today. And again, like Mark said, having that outside sounding board to validate good ideas, change perspective, focus on the right things. That's how you get out of paralysis by analysis, because I'm not going to tolerate that. Like, I'm just going to be like, no, the analysis period is over. It is now the action taking period. And I don't care if it's tax season or not. It just changes what you need to focus on. So Katrina, anyone on this call, just please understand that if you want some results similar to Mark, different, better, however you want to phrase it, please understand that I love nothing more than have the opportunity to work with you. I want to thank Mark, Dream Firm leader. Any parting shots before we say goodbye here, Mark?
I think the paralysis by analysis, I mean, we went through 5 software programs. I've gone through, 1+ coaches that kind of didn't coach. There's no reason to not go forward with Dream Firm, because if it can work for me, and I'm hard-headed and stubborn and do lots and lots and lots of research and don't really make the right decisions, or hadn't made the right decisions. But I think now I have a positive force behind me to get me to where I want to go. So I think the sky is more, in 11 weeks, I think the sky isn't falling all the time. There's parting, clouds where I can run past the rain and not get wet. And I think that's a good place to be, because CPA during tax season needs all the help they can get.
And I would love to continue to provide that help in any way, shape, and form. Mark, thank you so much for choosing to invest your most precious resource and bringing your experience and your expertise for our audience here. It means the world to me. Thank you again so much. For everyone else, book the call, explore what we got, and remember, only you can make your dream firm a reality, but myself, Mark, and all the other Dream Firm leaders are here to help you every single step of the way. Have a fantastic rest of your work week. Book your call, and talk to you very soon.
Thanks, everybody.